Many of us are victims of violence, either in our childhood, spousal, or relational. And suffice it to say, I lived through over a decade of physical abuse. I recall, and being a teenager, and when I was a teenager, I had a lot of hormonal issues. I mean,
Mm.
I had acne, I had heavy periods, and I started with new onset worsening ADD symptoms, but the worst of it was the anxiety and depression. Depression really reared its ugly head when I was a teenager. My poor mom, my poor dad there. My mom was always like, "Why do your drapes always black in your room? Why is your door always closed?" Like,
Right.
and my mom was just like, being first generation immigrant parents, they were like, "What are we gonna do with this kid who seems like she has mental health problems?"
Mhm.
And so they owned a coffee shop in the bottom of a medical building in Beverly Hills where my mom waitressed and my sister and I waitressed on Saturday, or I delivered food on the weekends or in the summertime. But I was lucky to grow up with a lot of doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, therapists, and all the retail workers from Rodeo Drive too. But it was not fancy at all, but it was an incredible way to grow up because my mom started having me talk to some of these people who became mentors and friends in my life. And a wonderful psychiatrist, Dr. Paul, became a really good personal friend. My mom said, "Please go talk to Dr. Paul, please." And he became one of my best friends and one of my mentors and somebody who really encouraged me to go into medicine later on in life. But it was because my mom and dad were so exasperated at dealing with a first generation Chinese kid who's supposed to conform with everywhere else that stood out like a sore thumb, who's dealing with anxiety, depression, right? And
Mhm.
ADD and ADHD, and they didn't even know what that was back then.
I know that that's probably difficult to talk about, but the role of stress and trauma and its
Mm.
impact on autoimmune disease is something that people can often take for granted, but it is so real. And might you share some details about that stress and trauma in your life?
Yeah, I would say that interestingly, many of us are victims of violence, either in our childhood, spousal, or relational. And suffice it to say, I lived through over a decade of physical abuse.
Mm.
And the threat of that every day, I applaud all the men and women out there who are victims of physical abuse, sexual abuse, because all of that happened to me and it absolutely fed my autoimmune disease, eroded my self trust, and impacted me as a mother, as a woman, as a daughter, and as a doctor, and now as a teacher, because I understand just how much of an impact that has on us.
Mm.
Whew.
So I know it's hurting everyone's heart right now to hear you talk about this because everybody cares so deeply for you, but it's your truth. It's what you lived through. And it sounds like we don't even know the full extent of the mental toll it took on you.
That is absolutely correct, and to be honest, there were points I did not wanna live,
Mm.
and I didn't even go on to all the physical pain and other symptoms I went through after multiple car accidents, chronic pain. I went through 18 months of almost near disability. I had to hire another doctor to work in the room with me because I was disabled. That's depressing, and I went through a severe mental health crisis where I even attempted to take my own life, and I think that's really important to share.
Yeah, I don't know that you've talked about this before, Dr. Maggie. And like you said, it's difficult to talk about, but it's important because this is part of the buildup of all of these issues. And you're not the only one who was feeling that way and went through something similar to that. And I'm so sorry to hear that. But like you said, it's important to share your truth.
I do, and I think that the mental health and stresses and abuse that I lived through, and even my self-harm, when I go back and look at that, I think it really roots into why we have mindset work in our program.
Mhm.
This ain't just a medical program, people. I really want you guys to understand this. My heart, soul, and passion, and every single lesson that I paid for is in this program. It is my life's work. And I think that one of the mindset pieces that's really important and a string that pulls through my entire story, I can tell you, one of the biggest dominant emotion that is in people with autoimmune disease that feeds the autoimmunity is called lack of forgiveness.
Mm.
I had problems not just forgiving other people, but I had the biggest problem not forgiving myself.
That sense of self worth.
And think about what autoimmune disease is, Anne, which is that autoimmune disease is where Your own immune system, instead of trying to kill germs, is trying to kill you. That's the ultimate act of self annihilation that your body can do. And I'm telling everyone here that's from a lack of self forgiveness.
Right, it's the brain connection too. I mean, your body knows that. It knows your feelings and your thoughts.
When you cannot forgive yourself for being sick, for not being the provider, for not being perfect, for not having all the answers, whatever it is, for losing your self trust, you mentally will be self annihilating with and even self harm. And physically, your body helps you out with that, doing the exact same thing. Your body will try to kill itself. And that's what autoimmune disease is. There is an autoimmune emotional avatar, and it's someone who cannot forgive themselves.
What you're saying, your story, unfortunately, is not isolated.
And I also think that people look at people on the outside, and autoimmunity is a silent, invisible illness.
Yes.
How many people out there looking at me or have looked at me don't understand just how much of a toll, just the surface of what I told you, it has been on my life.
Absolutely.
And look at those pictures. You don't see the pain, the suffering, the price that
No.
I had to pay and my family has to pay for living with autoimmunity that didn't have a solution at that time.
What else do you want to share with everybody tonight?
I think that the most important thing I would like to tell people is that the difference between a person who gets better and a person who doesn't is the series of decisions and actions you're going to take or that you don't take. So the person who gets better is the person who's going to make decision after decision to take action after action after action to get better and better and better relentlessly,
Okay.
consistently. So you be that person. You be that person. Make a decision right now by putting a comment in the comment section. Make a decision right now to chat with our team. Make a decision right now to put somebody's name in the video, underneath this video, to share this video with somebody else. Do something. Every single decision and action step you take brings you closer to the solution, and that's the only way you're going to have a solution. Join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. I'm on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Those of you who don't know I'm on TikTok, we'll add a link here to our TikTok channel so you can follow me on TikTok too. You can message us through our Facebook pages. You can message us through the link above and below this. You can be in our community in the Facebook group. That's how you're going to do it, everybody.